Hi, I'm Jappy Agoncillo. I'm an artist based in New York City from the Philippines. So the kind of art that I do is I mostly dabble a lot in illustration and paintings and street art. So with illustration, I just like to do things digitally or on paper. But my favorite thing to do really is murals and street art because I just like to paint large canvases, large walls. I like the challenge of having to finish a huge project in a certain amount of days. So yeah, I would say street art is my favorite thing. I have a couple coolest projects, I think. One of the coolest projects I've done personally is a mural in Manila for PlayStation Philippines. It was for God of War. I think because I'm a big fan of the video game. So I think to be tapped to create artwork for the video game and then to paint it in such a large scale for the release of the game was such a big deal to me as a fan. The wall for the God of War mural was about 7 meters by 11 meters. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Manila. I haven't been back since I moved. Well, I have, but not to paint. That's where I grew up, and so it's very surreal to think that I was a local guy and I was just doing artwork, whatever, when I was in high school or college, and then my career took me to do murals of that scale and of that kind of project. It was a great feeling to know that I grew there and then I was able to make it there. I think when it came to art, I was really into comic books, I was really into cartoons, so as you can see with my art now, it's still a big theme in my work, but I would just draw whatever I found interesting from from Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network or Disney or video games. So whatever I found cool, like, oh, I want to draw SpongeBob today, so I just drew a bunch of SpongeBob while I was in school, and I practiced every day but without thinking about practice. It was just something I liked to do. So how it kind of transitioned, it was more natural really, where I was always drawing stuff in school and I became the guy who knew how to draw in school, so that's kind of like my thing. And I went to college for a short while for fine arts, for art, but I quickly switched out to do other things. While I was in school for those other things, I was still making work, but I was selling them. So I would make work and then put them into stickers and then sell stickers. And people would ask me if I could paint walls. And one time I just said yes, and then that's it. It became my favorite thing, and I just kept painting walls. Personally, I think the role of art is just a release, like a way to express yourself. It's a way to tell stories if you have no words for those stories, but you can picture them in your head. It's a way to express yourself, and I've always been that kind of guy that I wanted to paint and draw and do what I thought was cool, whatever I thought was interesting, whatever stories I thought were worth telling or were fun to tell. That's the kind of artwork I like to make, where I want to tell a story. I want the work to say something. My work always reflects this kind of there's a childlike nature to my work. I feel like that's what I've always been hearing, and there's something about it that's very energetic and very empowering, or at least I like to think so. That what I wanted to say is, when people look at my work, to feel lighter and to feel like they can do anything. The colors and the boldness and the energy, I wanted to hype you up, where, especially when I do murals, when it's so big, you're like, this is incredible. I want to try doing stuff like that, or I can do whatever hard thing I have to do. I just wanted to make people feel like they can do whatever they want. I've been working in Manila as an artist for maybe 5 or 6 years, and around the 5th year, I was made aware that there was something called an artist visa or a talent visa. So during the pandemic, I applied for the artist visa, and the artist visa basically is that if you are good enough and if you are deemed extraordinary enough, that's the wording of it, to work in the United States, be given a work visa, they'll grant you one. And at the tail end of the pandemic, I got one. So I moved to New York City in January of 2023. All the time. Yeah, a lot of the time. I think I'm one of those artists that I can't ever feel very satisfied with my work, no matter how much I put into it. Even if people are telling me it's great, even if people are congratulating me or messaging me that they like my work, I just can't believe it myself, because I feel like there's always more to be done. So if you're asking like if I ever doubt my talent, I'm always doubting it, because I feel like there's more. It could be better, it could be more. I'm not doubting that it's good, I just feel like it could be better, always. Why did I decide to do the ES? I think for me, personally, I think that was just kind of the natural progression of where I wanted my work to go. I grew up admiring artists from all over the world, but my favorite ones were always right here in America. I love Shepard Fairey, I love Tristan Eaton, I love Matt Gondek. Their work is the kind of work that inspires mine, the kind of like work that makes me want to, do work like them. And so I think I decided long ago I wanted to have careers like them. I wanted to be the next them, So that made it a little easier for me to say, let's keep working until I can get to the United States, and then try to work some more until I could kind of at least try to get up to their level, try to get to where they are. So why America in the first place was really just, I wanted to be like these American heroes of mine. I wanted to be them. So I had to put myself where they are. So yeah, I work with Marvel. No, in July of 2022, I painted a mural for Marvel's Thor, Love and Thunder, the fourth Thor movie. And yeah, that was very surreal, because I think that was one of the first projects I ever did with like Marvel. And as a kid who grew up loving comics, that was a big deal for me. So yeah, that was a huge mural. I think it was 10 meters by like 20 or 30 or something. And yeah, it was great. And Taika Waititi saw the mural. So when I was doing the mural, Disney Asia, Disney Philippines had me get on a Zoom call with Taika Waititi. So he saw me doing the mural. He saw the finished product. He saw the design, and he really liked it. So I was, it was great. How I get that job? The marketing people at Disney Philippines liked my work. They saw my work and just thought like, this is the guy to do this certain project. It was more interesting than that. Like, I think the original email, it was supposed to be for Doctor Strange. So I'm a big fan of Marvel, but my favorite is Thor. I love Thor. And so they emailed me earlier that year for a project for Doctor Strange. And I said, okay, sure. I mean, I like Doctor Strange, but whatever. That project fell apart. So a month later, it didn't happen. That was in May. Thor came out in July. So I was like, okay, we're not doing Marvel anymore. I was disappointed. I think I was at another mural painting when I got a message from the marketing people. Hey, can we call you? So, okay. So I got the call, like, we're not gonna do Doctor Strange anymore, but we got another thing. And I said, what is it? Have you heard of Thor? I'm like, maybe, probably. I might have heard of him. But then I said, yeah, let's talk about it next time and whatever. And after the call, I was just so excited. Like, I thought I was disappointed for Doctor Strange, and I thought I lost my shot to do a cool Marvel thing. But then I got an even cooler Marvel thing, personally. Name dropped Adidas. So for Adidas, I had two projects for Adidas. We had shirt designs. I should have brought them. We had shirt designs. That was like Philippine culture shirt designs that released in May. They released in May last year, 2022. And then 2 months later, we released a shoe. So I designed a sneaker for NBA star Donovan Mitchell. He was with the Utah Jazz. Now he's with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I designed a colorway for his third signature shoe, the Dawn Issue 3. That was going to be a Southeast Asian exclusive release. So I'm the third Filipino artist to have designed a custom shoe colorway for Adidas. Yeah, that was in the Philippines. So Filipinos love basketball. Basketball is a huge thing over there. So it makes a lot of sense that these big brands would kind of tap into the Filipinos' love for basketball by mixing in like Filipino talent. So they hired, in the past 5 years before that, I don't know when exactly, but they had artists release a shoe for James Harden, which Harden wore at a game, big deal. And then they had an artist design an Ultra Boost, and then I was the third to design a shoe for Donovan Mitchell. That was crazy, honestly. That was like really crazy, because like me doing a shoe, the process was really fun, although really like taxing and hard, because I've never really done like a project like that before. So I was designing each panel of the shoe. I was designing each kind of like portion of it, the story of it, the soul, everything had to be on point with the concept. And yeah, after I designed the shoe, for me, it was just like, oh, I passed the design off to a client, that's it. You never really see it come to life. But when they delivered the shoe like 6 months later, I got the samples of the shoe at the store. It was like, wow, I can't believe like this was on my computer just like 6 months ago, and now I'm holding it. Like, it was kind of crazy. Yeah, my friends and family all have pairs of the shoes. I have a couple of pairs just lying around at home too. Just in case, just in case. Literally, yeah, because the shoe, when they released, the first 50 people who came to the shoe release, there was a shoe release party in Manila. The first 50 people who came to the shoe release and bought a pair of shoes were given like this acrylic box case with my artwork on it. So I signed those boxes for the customers. My favorite brand to work with? That is tough, because I was fans of all these things. I think it would either have to be, wow, that is tough, honestly. Marvel. I love Marvel. I'm a gamer, so I love PlayStation. I think it's PlayStation for me. I really enjoyed that project. Just also because I got a PS5. So in addition to the pay, they sent me a PS5 with the game. So I'm like, sold. Thank you. I have to say they're my favorite. After the project, they're like, pick up the PlayStation whenever you want. Yes. Now it's worth it. In 2022, the PlayStation 5 released in 2021 or 2020. They were impossible to buy. Just like, they overpriced them everywhere. They were out of stock everywhere. So for them to give me one, not easier to buy now, but for them to say, yeah, we'll give you one, like, thank God, because I've been trying to get one for like a year. And I still couldn't afford it, but for free it was good. That was good for me. So I've been back and forth from Manila and here a couple times since 2017. I'll give myself like a month break to just, a month break from work to do work here. So I do a lot of street art here. I hang out with like my friends. But yeah, so the difference, I think if we're gonna go with the difference between New York and Manila, it's almost the same in terms of like, it's crowded, it's a little messy. That's just a nice way of saying it's dirty. It's a little dirty. But the bigger difference is, of course, like things are more expensive here, and the systems here are much better. Let's say like the subway system. So as a Filipino, and I ride public transportation also, but it's a driving city because public transportation they just don't make it good enough. And if you're privileged enough to drive, you do. Unlike here, where a lot of people, I find like a lot of New Yorkers complain about the public transport system. But when you come from a country where it's really not that great and it's really kind of a mess, I can't complain at all. Like, oh, the subway is a little dirty, that's fine. So as a Filipino in New York, it's really just, you see a lot of these things people complain about, things that they take for granted here, that Americans take for granted, that I just find is leagues ahead of where my city is. Like even the traffic. I love when New Yorkers complain about traffic because it's so cute. It's just like, oh yeah, oh it's a traffic on the thing. Oh, it's a nightmare. Sure it is, right? Come to Manila. Come to Manila, you'll see it. It's like it's the worst traffic you've ever seen. I get that all the time when people ask me if I'm from where I'm from, and they would ask, so you're from the Philippines, right? So how long have you been living in New York? And I'd say, well, I moved in January. And like, in January. So you've never lived here before? Not lived here, no. Did you grow up here as a kid? Are you a citizen? Nope. I moved here this year. And they would be very amazed. And I'd be like, it's my English, isn't it? And like, yeah, how's your English so good? And I try to tell them that one, not many Filipinos have an accent like this. It is strange for me to have one. Honestly, it is strange for me to have one. And people ask sometimes if I'm faking it or if I kind of just got one after living here. But no, it's always been this way. I've always kind of been made fun of as a kid for having it. People in my family would ask me like, where's this guy from? Like, did he grow up somewhere else? Because I have kind of weird American accent. And it really is just from watching a lot of TV. So I grew up watching a lot of cartoons, a lot of TV shows, a lot of nature shows, documentaries, Discovery Channel, National Geographic, and kind of picked up how to speak English. And that's just kind of how I grew up. But yeah, people find it very, very interesting that I have such good English and an American accent. So in the Philippines, English is kind of, I believe, I might be wrong, I believe we are the best English-speaking country in Asia. Because I think, this is just my speculation on it, that English is taught in every school in almost every level. So as compared to, let's say, I know they need a lot of English tutors in countries like China or Japan. So actually, people in the Philippines would do like online teaching to Chinese children and Japanese children English because we just got such a good English in the Philippines. But they teach it in every level, almost every level in almost every school, if not every school. So I think from a very, very young age, even if you don't have to have an accent or anything, Filipinos are kind of primed to understand English or have a very decent working knowledge of English. There's a big American mindset in the Philippines, and English has kind of become kind of the second language. There's many dialects in the Philippines, but in a broad sense, they don't even have, some signs aren't even in Filipino. Some street signs or signs on shops, windows, malls, they're not in Filipino, they're all in English. Just because I think that's just how it became, that we have such a big American influence that English has kind of eclipsed Filipino as the main language in like signages and in videos and in instruction. English became the language of instruction and stuff. The easy answer is yes, a lot of Filipinos do kind of migrate, not just to the United States, but to other countries. So a big kind of part of Philippine culture is called OFW. It's called Overseas Filipino Workers. And that's just Filipinos who would go abroad to work and then send money home. So again, that's where kind of having a good knowledge of English comes into play, because you'll need that in like the industries in other countries. So a lot of Filipinos become seamen to work on boats. A lot of them go to the Middle East to work as engineers or architects or even just service jobs. Filipinos working abroad is such a big thing. That is a really tough political thing that is hard to explain, and I wish I understood more of it. But again, I can just speculate that it was all about the Americanization of the Philippines, that it became a big thing to leave the Philippines. My American dream, that's, I don't know, I've never really thought of it to that extent. I think my dream really is to kind of be a working artist in America with a healthy amount of respect from my peers. You know, like I said earlier, like I kind of wanted to have careers the way Shepard Fairey has a career, or like Cause, or one of them where, you know, they're respected by their peers, but they're doing big things, and their work means something to people, their work speaks to people. Yeah, I just want to be, I don't necessarily think or know if I'll ever get to their level, but I do really want to have a healthy career here and be, you know, I wouldn't say admired, but like for my work to be in big important places, for it to be liked by people and to be respected by my peers. Yeah, to be an artist in America. To be an artist here and be, you know, obviously there's so much more work to be done. I just got here, but that's the dream. I just want to be like respected and to be in nice big rooms, my work, you know. That's a great question. Yeah, I think about that all the time. I think perception of home has changed a bit, where I get a little bit more, honestly, I have become kinder to my country, the way I perceive my country. I think for a very long time, it represented some sort of like limit to me, and that's why I had to do what I had to do to go elsewhere. But I've come to learn that that's not necessarily true. For so long, it just felt like it was going to limit me. And then now I view it as something like, that's home. That's where I live, that's where I grow up, that's where my friends are. And that's where I want to be when I die. You know, it's just like, it'll always be home to me. And it doesn't really represent that limit anymore. I don't want to say I hated it for a long time, but like, you live there and there's so many problems on a lot of aspects, it just kind of builds up this resentment. And then when you have the opportunity to go and try to make it somewhere else, you're like so, you know, excited, gung ho, like, yeah, I'm out of here, goodbye. But then, you know, after living here, and I know like I want my career here to grow and everything, but Philippines will always be home. And you look at it more with kinder, gentler eyes and be like, it has a lot of problems, but that's not anyone you know's fault. The problems are much larger and bigger, and you shouldn't blame the people you know. You shouldn't blame the country itself. It's the people who make it worse, and yeah, it's a big political issue out there. Friendship is accepting other people and loving other people for who they are, and never having to worry about either judging them or being judged by them, because you would also accept their input and everything. You know, when I think about my friends, I think about the people who I can talk to, who I can like just say whatever, and they could either call me out or they can also agree, and I wouldn't have to worry about losing them because of my opinions or because of my my viewpoints, and they don't have to worry about losing me as a friend because of their opinions and their viewpoints. It's about people who you can trust, you can be yourself with, who you could grow with, learn with, make mistakes with. Communities in the United States is so much bigger, and you know, I think you come from a small country and a small city with a small industry. You meet people, and everyone kind of just knows each other. Especially in like, you know, in Manila, everyone knows pretty much anyone else or has connections to anyone else. Here, it's not necessarily the case. You'll meet people from different walks who will have no degrees of separation from people in your other circles. So I did kind of find it a little difficult, and I still do kind of find it difficult to make friends in the United States, because also it's all business here. You meet people, sometimes it's just all business. Sometimes it's all just work. Sometimes it's all just, you know, the art scene. But I do love meeting new people here, and I've kind of had to warp my perception of making friends, where it doesn't necessarily have to be like a big, deep, meaningful connection, but it could just be like people you like spending time with, people you enjoy being with, and who you can accept. So it doesn't always have to be like, like you meet people and then it's like, yeah, we're friends. It doesn't always have to be like, oh, I don't know you that well, we're not gonna be friends. You can meet people at a bar, you can meet people at a show, you know? And then you're just connected, you're just talking all the time. You're just friends. But then I had to kind of transform it in a way where not everyone I have to call for an emergency. Like, you know, if I'm gonna make friends, I'm gonna make friends. They don't always have to be my emergency people. That's just how I explain it. Social media, you know how it is. I try to keep in touch with my friends back home. It is a little harder because of the time difference. So it's a 12-hour time difference. So when I'm asleep, they're awake. When they're asleep, I'm awake. But I try to, like, you know, send memes to my core friend group from, like, you know, from high school, from college. I try to, like, you know, make sure they know I'm around. I talk to them when I can. And I keep up a social media presence just to make sure, like, hey, I'm still here. Don't forget me. I'm just working. Not necessarily. I feel like it's just tougher because, you know, you're always just talking through the phone or on, like, group chats, and you can't just kind of have conversations where they just go wherever. So yeah, I think to a degree the conversations and the way we talk has changed into a little less, there's a lot less flow to it. You chat, they chat, you chat, they chat. But yeah, I don't ever doubt that when I come home they won't be my friends. Yeah, you got your home friends that, you know, it's weird, like you're just messaging them like, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm fine. But if you're in person, you're like, how are you? Oh, everything sucks and I hate the world and, like, you know, this and that, and it just kind of transforms, just goes on and on and on. My friends have always been supportive, as much as I know, right? My friends have always been supportive. I think that they could see there's a drive in me. They see, like, there's a dedication in me and there's a lot of discipline, that I really wanted it to work. And honestly, that's all you need to make most things work, is if you're really, really, really determined and you don't let anything kind of hinder you or stop you, you can do whatever. You can grow to that level most of the time. So they just knew that Jappy's definitely the type of guy who could make it work if he really wanted it. And I really wanted it. So they never really doubted that I could. Of course, with family, it's a little different. You gotta kind of convince them a little bit, and it's coming from a good place. So you know, or they're just like, okay, I hope Jappy grows out of the whole art drawing thing, because we want him to get a real job, or we want to see him do real things. And I understand that, but I think after graduating college, so a little background, I graduated in the Philippines from university. I have a degree in legal management. So, yep. Every time. I have a degree in legal management. So I did study the law, and I was priming myself to go to law school in the Philippines and become a criminal lawyer. I really wanted to do that. I wanted to do the whole jury thing. I wanted to do, you know, objection. They don't do that in the Philippines, but at the time I didn't know. So I wanted to be like, you know, like Two-Face, Harvey Dent. I really like, so again, it goes back to comics. I love Batman. And they were very excited for that, but I started doing murals in college to make money, to make extra money. By the time I graduated college, they were just like, all right, so when you go into law school, you know, my parents are like, maybe I won't go to law school. I mean, I'm doing enough here. I'm making some good money. I think this could really work. And so they were very worried for a couple of months. But it was only after, like, the big projects came in, the big names in the Philippines. There's a lot of, like, malls. Mall culture is huge over there. So once I started getting projects at those malls, they're like, okay, I think he's gonna be okay. So it took some convincing. It definitely took some convincing. It's a two-way street where you both give, you both take, you both have to work towards it. And that's just the way me and my girlfriend, my partner now try to work things, is that we're in a long-distance relationship, yes. But we're also best friends. And so we try to talk to each other sometimes just as best friends, just so we can really like leave it all out there. And it helps us immensely with like working out relationship issues, just because you're my best friend. I'm not gonna hide anything from you. There's no, sometimes when you're in a relationship, and I've experienced this also, when you're in a relationship, you can't tell your partner everything. You can't talk to them about everything because you feel like there are lines drawn around your relationship where you can't cross that line and say that thing or be completely honest, because your girlfriend will get mad, but if you're in a relationship with your partner, your best friend, your soulmate, if you will, it's a lot easier to just be like, no, right now, no bullshit, we are best friend mode, what's the problem? And then you can just say whatever. And I think that's how my relationship works now, and it's the best. I just feel like that's what love is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like two people who can really just be themselves completely without fear. Knowing that I'll have your back, you'll have mine, whatever happens. It's a tough one, because we've been best friends for a very long time, and then we got together a little before I moved. Like I said, she's my best friend, and I feel like it's worth it. I feel like this is endgame, and the way we talk about the future of it working out is just like we're working it together, where we're flexible enough for our plans to move around what we want. She knows that, so don't be surprised if you watch this. She knows that. We've talked about it a bunch. So yeah. I will probably find a way to make both work at the same time, and I think there's definitely a way for it to work where my career can still continue to thrive and to exist here, while I am physically in the Philippines for most of the time. So I don't think it's as black and white as will you give up everything if she can't? No, I feel like if I really had to, I would. But I know like in this day and age, it's not that black and white anymore. We're like, okay, yeah, I'll spend like 11 months out of the year in the Philippines, come here to do a show every once in a while if my career can survive it, So I will still find a way to make both work, but my priority, of course, is to be with my partner. I do believe in an afterlife. I can't wrap my head around the idea that this is it. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, like, is this it? Like, there's probably more. And I'm curious to see what it is, because I do believe in an afterlife, but I can't really pinpoint what it's going to be like. And I feel like every other way it's been interpreted, let's say, the Greeks have an afterlife. The Christians have an afterlife. So there's so many ways it's been, I can't think of it right now, but there's so many ways it's been represented through cultures, but I feel like those are all pale in comparison to what it truly can be and what it is. Those are just the ways humans will articulate it. So there's just no way of really imagining what it's going to be like, but I do believe that there's going to be one. Soul reborn. Oh, so deep. I think maybe not reborn. I think the reborn is not the word. I think it's more like we're just going to be passing on to a different plane of existence. You know what I mean? So our souls probably came from a different plane before this, and we just don't remember. And then our souls will move on to another one. Hopefully we'll remember everything else. But I just feel like it's just another kind of transitioning point into something else. I have a friend back home. His name is Marty. He's one of my best friends. What's up, Marty? think if we were to go with like, he shines the brightest, or he has the most energy, or he's just the most personable, and all those things are true. I feel like for a very long time when I was a kid, he was my best friend, but he had so many other friends. And until now, like, he has more friends than I could count. And whenever I look at his Instagram story, I'm like, I don't even know who these people are, but like, he's always hanging out with new people. He's always throwing parties at his house. He's always like kind of bringing people into his life. And yeah, I just feel like that's probably the most like shining star I can think of, is just this guy who is so magnetic that he can become best friends and have people love him all over the world, all over the place. What did I pick up from Art? I feel like what I picked up from him is kind of like, I don't know, he was just my best friend. So I never really felt like I would gain anything from him. We were friends since we were like in third grade, since we were like 8 years old. What I picked up from him was like a really good, solid friend. And that's really important. Like, I think if we were doing like that list of people to call if you ever had to get out of jail or whatever, he's on that list. Like, yeah, he's like family to me. Like, his entire family's family to me. So I picked up like a lifetime of friendship. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of dark moments that build character, and obviously that doesn't apply to everything. Like, there are definitely things in people's lives I wish would never happen to them. But I feel like it's all. I've always been this guy who's thought that everything that happens to you is meant to leave something in you. I can't really speak to how I wish something would never happen, because I feel like everything so far has led up to where I am today. So I can't really say I wish it never happened, because thankfully nothing's ever happened to me where it's completely destroyed me, and hopefully that never does happen. But I do know all my trials and everything that's happened to me so far builds towards who I am and where I am now. Well, I want to be an astronaut. That's stupid. But like, I think I've always wanted to be an astronaut. I'm huge on space. And science is my best subject in school. So like, in another life, if I could like kind of like manipulate myself in another life, like do this, do that, go to this school, I'd really like to be an astronaut. I think it's like, I really want to be in space. I want to experience outer space. I think it's really cool. I just, like, coming from the Philippines, you never think, yeah, I'm going to be an astronaut someday. But like, if I had a choice, or if I had a little bit more control or know-how, I'll definitely try to make myself an astronaut. I'm too old to be an astronaut, actually. Yeah.
Really?
I read somewhere that there's an age limit-ish to who they let up in space, and you have to start training when you're young. So now I am 28. If I start training, I will, I think, be too old to be sent to space. So there, practical dream. But to be able to do that and have a family of my own, to live comfortably, I think that's mostly the practical dream. Would be like to have that career I spoke about, but also be able to take care of, you know, maybe a wife and kids and a dog and a car. That's impractical. I feel like to want to get a brownstone, no, that's just impractical. Just like, I don't think it ever happened. I don't have that kind of money. Start. Okay. Choose your language. English. Choose the question you'd like to answer. What is the meaning of life? What happens after death? What is a good deed and what is an evil deed? What does the word God or higher intelligence mean to you? What is time? These are so crazy. How could the universe arise? How much freedom of choice has a person and how to increase it? And what is love? Why are these so hard? Okay, here we go. Okay. I type in my answer. Okay, death, life, no. What happens after death? After death, we go on to a new plane of existence as different beings? Yeah? You chose what happens after death. Send answer, video, voice note, or text. Okay, let me answer this. Copy. Paste. Describe yourself. Enter your own feelings. Type a few words. What are you like? Select an option or enter your own. I am I'm just gonna go with the options. A portrait of a main character, a beautiful girl, a cool sport guy, or a very smart person. I think I'm a cool sport guy. Describe your art style. Tell us what the theme of render you would prefer. Select an option or enter your own. Art Nouveau, cinematic, 3D render, oil painting, steampunk, black and white, concept art, or vector art. I'm gonna say pop art. I think pop art makes sense. If, like this. Choose a genre or mood to create a soundtrack to your answer. Interesting. I'm feeling kind of... Is disco? No. Trance? I want to pick like the weird ones. Heroic. Thanks. We will process your request and we'll send you the finished version as soon as possible. What? What does that mean? I'm a cool sport guy with pop art and I like heroic music. Are you gonna send me a video?
After death, we go on to a new plane existence as different beings.